Thank you. Good morning, everyone. This is the Environment and Sustainability Committee meeting number 7 of 2021 on the 5th of August 2021. I'll check committee attendance. We have all members in attendance. I have no apologies. And this meeting is being held virtually and streamed publicly in accordance with the COVID provisions of sections 277B, C and D of the Local Government Regulation 2012. Are there any declarations of interest in matters on the agenda? No. We have no business outstanding. We'll move to confirmation of minutes of the previous meeting, which was meeting 6 of 2021 on the 8th of July. Do I have a mover for that? Thank you, Councillor Madsen. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Kunzman, thank you. All those in favour? That's unanimous and carried. Item 2 is Officers Report, the Bremer River Shopping Trolley Cleanup Program Report for 2020-2021. This is a report concerning Council's 2020-2021 Shopping Trolley Removal Program for the Bremer River. Having been recently completed, Council has received a summary report of the key findings and recommendations for the program from the contractor, Healthy Land and Water, which forms the basis of this report. Does any member of committee wish to speak to Council Officer? Thank you. May I call forward Council Officer to answer questions?
I'll be asking questions about how the discussions are going with the shops at Riverlink, because obviously, and also in regards to the work that can be done on David Trumpy Bridge. So I'm not sure who would be the right person for that.
Yeah, good morning, Mayor Harding and councillors. I'm happy to take any questions on this one.
Thank you, Mr. Through the chair, Mr. McCann. I note with recommendation B, it talks about undertaking further discussions, investigation to identify the primary source of the dump shopping trolleys. Now, legally, who wears the financial burden of the trolleys?
So legally, I'm not entirely sure. I would assume it should be the retailer or the owner of the trolleys. However, it's something that council typically pick up through public perception that it's our responsibility. So it's something that we generally end up delivering through that public pressure that falls on us to manage this issue.
Right, the report does say it's not council's responsibility, it is the owners of the shopping trolley. So how are these investigations going? Because this costs, what, $9,000 of ratepayers' money?
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
Are you having those conversations with the retailers at Riverlink, or is it?
Yeah, so once we got this report back, I sent it out to our compliance team and reached out to those guys as to how we can best approach these discussions with the retailers. Mm-hmm. And the compliance team have started an audit process, and that actually was due to commence this week. So it has been delayed due to lockdown, and basically their compliance audit was due to look at all the systems that are in place and any ways that system can be improved. So they're currently doing up a project plan which is being drafted, and that will inform the audit process and sort of identify the intended goals, and that will be made available once that's finalised. They have already undertaken some initial inspections as well throughout the precinct, and the early indications are that there are abandoned trolleys outside of the Riverlink precinct, and that the current containment system may have some deficiencies which will need to be addressed. And it's sort of been identified at this stage that one of the areas that probably we can have a big win is through the trolley fleet contractors. So it's understood that they actually have contractors that are responsible for gathering any trolleys that are taken away from the retail precinct. And it's understood that maybe one of the best ways to have some wins is to look at the time frames in which these trolley contractors are getting around and outside of the precinct to pick up trolleys.
Sure. Emma, I ask you, Mr. McKenna, in particular, I know that Councillor Doyle has written a few letters to TMR about having some barricades up on the David Trumpy Bridge. Are you working with TMR on that as well to see if we can get some barricades to stop people throwing the trolleys over the bridge?
I haven't been involved in any of those discussions.
Okay.
It's somewhat another angle. So
I can speak to that.
Obviously.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I guess we'll do that and we'll go into discussion. Thank you, Mr. McCann.
No worries. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCann. Does any other member of committee have any questions for Mr. McCann? No? Then, so that we can move to discussion, I'll ask for a mover. The recommendations are three parts, A, B and C. Recommendation A is that Council continue to schedule the removal of dump shopping trolleys on a 3-monthly basis with funding through the Waterway Health Program. B, that Council undertake further investigations to identify the primary sources of dump shopping trolleys and develop mitigation plans in partnership with key retailers of Riverlink to reduce the incidence of trolley dumping into the river. And C, that additional deterrent measures be investigated to discourage behaviours leading to the dumping of trolleys in the Bremer River. Do I have a mover?
Yep, thanks, Russell. I'm happy to move those, but I would like to add a recommendation D as part of my moving A, B, C, and D would be that Council write to the retailers listed in the report seeking financial assistance for future shopping trolley cleanup programs. Initiated by Ipswich City Council. Thank you.
So, happy with that as it stands, Councillor Beckner?
Yes, thank you, Chair.
Good day. So Councillor Beckner has moved those 4 recommendations. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Kunzelman? Thank you. I'll open the matter up for discussion.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just through you, I've got a couple of comments here with regards to the cleanup program. I'd like to thank Mr. McCann and Ms. Kavanagh and her team for their efforts in cleaning up the river. It's really important that we get these trolleys out of there, but I move recommendation D, seeking the support of the committee to write for financial assistance. I think that this is a great angle that the organisation could take to try and recoup some of the costs, as alluded to earlier by the Mayor. I think this could be a good community building exercise for big companies like Woolworths and Coles and Kmart in our city to chip in and to help us do this work, because after all, those trolleys, well, they're the asset of those particular retailers. So there needs to be some, I guess we need to hold them to account and to and if we're rolling out the program, it might be something that hasn't been flagged with them before, that this is something that we're doing on their behalf, and it's just right for us to ask for them to help cover those costs. Secondly, there was mention about the David Trumpy Bridge. Now, I think that what the Mayor failed to go into great detail in was that there were trolleys that are being thrown off the David Trumpy Bridge. So, as mentioned, Councillor Doyle is very passionate about this, and her and I co-signed a letter to both Jim Madden MP and Jennifer Howard MP, seeking their assistance in advocating for us to TMR to try and get some anti-throw screen barriers up to help protect those walking underneath, but also to help mitigate any other safety issues that can rise from people potentially attempting to jump off the bridge themselves. So, I mean, the bridge has served us well since '65, and I think that we need to keep these conversations open between local government here at Ipswich City Council and the state government and TMR. So it looks like that this meeting, we've got a meeting with Jennifer Howard later this month to discuss how we have these conversations with TMR, and Councillor Doyle is collating lots of really detailed information about safety, including the shopping trolleys being thrown off the bridge, to help build our case to improve the safety of the David Trumpy Bridge too. So it might be worth, I think that I'll ask Councillor Doyle if it's okay that we circulate the letters that we wrote to our two MPs on each side of the bridge, just for visibility of this committee. But yeah, I fully support this program, but I think it's time that we ask people to help financially support this, because at the end of the day, they're not our trolleys and we're the ones that are having to clean them up.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Fechner. That is awesome further information that we can take into account with this matter. I do note that recommendation B is that Council undertake further investigations to identify the primary source or sources of the dump shopping trolleys and develop mitigation plans in partnership with key retailers of Riverlink to reduce the incidence of trolley dumping into the river. It doesn't take a lot of investigation as to discover the source, because those shopping trolleys have the retailers' branding on them, and it's clear that the physical location where they are coming from is from that retail shopping centre. The additional detail that you thankfully provided with regards to the screens on the David Trumpy Bridge is of multiple aspect importance, as you had mentioned. It's not just the shopping trolleys being put over the edge, but there are other, of course, very serious safety concerns that need to be taken into account. Mayor Harding, you have your hand up.
Yes, may I ask through you, Chair, Councillor Fechner, if TMR have responded to any of the letters, or are we awaiting a response?
We're approaching this from a couple of different angles, Mayor. So through the organisation and under the direct visibility of Tony Dillio, he's making inroads with TMR in these discussions, and we have taken the angle of getting in contact with our MP. So we've got conversations open on both sides, both in the bureaucracy of the state government, but also seeking the advocacy of our MPs as well.
Thank you, Councillor Fechner, and thank you, Councillor Doyle, for that. I just note, I guess, from my perspective, I could see that the ratepayers of Ipswich are spending $9,000 a year on something that's actually not their job to do. The assets do belong to Riverlink traders, and in the report it does give a breakdown of where those 75 trolleys over the last 12 months have been. So there were 30 branded for Woolworths, 26 for Coles, 12 for Kmart, and 7 for other like Aldi and Best and Less. So we know exactly who they belong to. It's not the ratepayers of Ipswich's responsibility to pay for them. So we do need to, I think, go quite firm with the retailers and to and as well as work with TMR to reduce these incidences as well.
Yes, I concur as well there, Mayor. Thank you. It's clearly not something that happens in every retail shopping centre precinct. This is specific to the river there and the adjacent shopping centre there. So I'm very confident that council's officers will be able to engage further, and as we move forward, further mitigate this matter. And as Councillor Fechner has introduced, right to the owners of those assets to ask them to provide financial assistance. Any other member wish to? Sorry, Councillor Madsen, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to make a bit of a comment there. The amount that the program costs, we're talking about companies with billions of dollars of assets and revenue, and yeah, I commend Councillor Fechner for his additional recommendation, and I concur with the Mayor. It shouldn't be the residents of Ipswich footing the bill. It should be the massive corporations which own these trolleys. They should be paying their share to well, they should be paying for it entirely, as a matter of fact.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Madsen. Any other member of committee wish to make comment? No. There being no further discussion, I'll put the motion, and all those in favour? That's unanimous and carried. Moving on, there are no notices of motion and no matters arising. Then I'll call the meeting to close at 11:01 a.m. and the next committee meeting is the I'll have to double check that. Sorry, Mayor. Is it
the Ipswich Central Redevelopment Committee?
Central Redevelopment Committee, I beg my pardon. That will commence at 11:11. Thank you, everyone.